Hey Stags fans, welcome to another episode of From the Director's Chair. I'm JJ Duke and joining me is Paul Schlickman, the AD, and well, we've seen a little bit of a title change from the last time that we had it. We elected to go for more of a chair as opposed to the desk setup, but overall good feedback from our first episode.
I think so. I like the little tweak. I think oftentimes as an athletic director you talk about what it means to sit in the chair and that perspective, so I think it's a good change. And the feedback that I've received from our first rendition was very positive, and got some good feedback too in terms of questions and the questions we fielded since then. So we look forward to doing it some more, and I think it's been good.
Absolutely. Let's get right into it because we've had a big update in the fall sports season, women's soccer more specifically. David Barrett, now the head coach of women's soccer. Tell us a little bit about the process that made him be the most outstanding candidate for the position. What can he bring to the table?
Yeah, very excited about David. I think he brings a lot to the table. I think he's a great addition to the Fairfield community, our family, our department, and most importantly, the women's soccer program. First and foremost, he brings a wealth of experience as a head coach, incredible success as a Division III head coach out at Illinois Wesleyan, but a track record of success everywhere he's been and in every facet. I very much consider, and I think Dave would agree, that he is an educator at heart. And so he will bring great perspective to the table in terms of what we're all about, in terms of trying to create a holistic experience for our student athletes. And he believes wholeheartedly in that, and has already hit the ground running and infused a lot of positive energy and good initial meetings with the team. And they're getting after it in their out-of-season conditioning already. So I'm really excited about the future of that program and what he brings to the table, and the trajectory that I think our women's soccer program will be on under his leadership.
Of course, and the team going to be getting going back in the fall, and obviously a lot to build off of with a very good nucleus that comes back to the team. And also, in addition to that, we found out not only are Fairfield athletes exceptional on the fields, but they're exceptional as student athletes as well. And they put together a very, very strong fall semester, and this must make you very excited.
I'm very excited. I'm very proud, and at some level I'm not surprised, but at the same time I'm always continually amazed and impressed by what our student athletes accomplish on a daily basis. I mean, to be a Division I student athlete is not an easy thing to do. To do that and to do it with great success at Fairfield is even harder to do, given the academic demands, given the types of things that Fairfield students in general are asked to do and like to do, be it community service or being involved with other entities on campus. So for our student athletes to achieve, at a 75% rate, to have them be above a 3.0, to have an average team GPA of just under a 3.3, to have 15 student athletes get a 4.0, and I could go on and on with the stats because they're truly exceptional, is remarkable. And it really makes me proud that we have that caliber of student athlete in our midst, and they're great to be around. They energize me every day. They're incredibly thoughtful and thought-provoking, and so it's a good group, and they challenge me and us every day to do the best we can.
Absolutely, and they'll be honored, or all the Dean's List honorees will be honored at a breakfast coming up in a couple of weeks' time.
It's a nice event, and we're looking forward to doing that, yeah.
Now let's hit the hardwood a little bit here, as basketball right in the midst of going to the last couple of weeks before MAC tournament play begins. Men's team starting to find their swing again here. Tyler Nelson, of course, climbing up the career points mark right now, and a couple big games coming up, but they're fighting for a top 5 spot in the conference tournament.
Yeah, they sure are. It's been fun to see how the season has evolved. Conference play, as you know all too well, it's a dogfight regardless of what conference you're in, and so we're in the dog days of conference play, and every game's tough. Every game's a grind. By this point in the season, everybody knows each other's tendencies because you've watched them on film a number of times and essentially played everybody. So it's really good to see our guys playing very well as of late on a little 3-game streak here. Headed up, it's good to have that momentum and that sense of confidence headed into our toughest road trip going up to Buffalo this weekend. So hopefully that will serve them well, and then we get to come home and have a little bit of home cooking on the back end of it. And the women, in talking to Joe before the season, he thought they had a chance to, even with a younger team, to vie for a top 4 spot, and they're doing just that. So they're sitting in 4th right now. Good place to be at this point in the season. They've had their ups and downs, but I think they're hopefully going to peak at the right time as well as we hit the stretch conference play heading into the conference tournament.
Stay with the winter sports, but we transition from the hardwood to the pool. And coming up soon for swimming and diving is going to be the MAC Championships up in Western New York. Focus specifically on the women's team because they have put together an immaculate season.
Unbelievable. They've really progressed incredibly well. Innumerable personal bests and team records that have been achieved, and then records that have been broken by our women's program. Best dual meet record in their history, a win over Marist in the league, which hadn't been done in quite some time, if ever. So really excited to see the growth of that program and the success, and Coach Bruno's doing a great job. And so I think the women are going into that feeling like they have a chance, and that's a great place to be.
Now it's funny because we're here in the President's Suite at Rafferty Stadium.
Right.
It's February, but yes, lacrosse is upon us right now.
They are upon us. It is upon us. And we're looking out at the men's team practicing right now. It's a gorgeous almost mid-February day, sun shining, and so it's a great day on the turf at Rafferty. But the men have already played a couple scrimmages, and then the women are right behind them. So it comes up fast. As soon as you get back from winter break, it's here. It's interesting because you're right in the heart of the stretch run of basketball, but then all of a sudden you're kicking in spring seasons as well. So it's a confluence of events, but it's great. It's what college athletics is all about.
Absolutely. It's going to be a fun season as well because Fairfield, on both sides, they're going to be entertaining some very good opponents. On the men's side, Penn State is going to be returning the trip from a year ago. Yale, in an epic double overtime game last year up at Reese Stadium, they'll be coming down. Right. They're going to open up the season as well against Vermont, a team that we haven't seen in a while. So Coach Copeland has a tough schedule on tap, but no doubt they're going to be trying to make a run at the CAA title this year.
Right, and I think so. We had some good early season tests on the men's side, a three-way with BU and Michigan, which I think was a good test out of the chute, and then local scrimmage against Sacred Heart this past weekend. So it's great to have those teams come to our place. Vermont, a team that has continually competed very well and at a high level in the America East. They've got some very talented players, so that'll be a really good early test for us. There'll be a good team coming in, and they're going to play hard. And Holy Cross on the women's side has gotten better. A team that's gotten better, and so excited to have lacrosse upon us. And hopefully the weather will cooperate, and we can have a great day of a doubleheader here at Rafferty.
Absolutely, and you talk about the women's team. Of course, they're coming off of a finalist appearance in the MAC tournament last year. Obviously, graduating a couple of key performers, but no doubt Coach Field has a scheme up and ready to go, and perhaps making another run towards the MAC championship.
Yeah, I think they'll be right in the mix. I think they have a chance to be right there. They've certainly been on that trajectory and that consistent competitive level to be a perennial contender in the league. And every day I walk into my office and I see those teams practicing. So I think they have a good work ethic. I know they're getting after it, and I know, at this point in the year, after going all the way through fall ball and now a few weeks into the spring season, if you will, they're chomping at the bit to play other people for real. So hopefully that'll translate well.
Yeah, for sure. It's going to be a fun season. Hopefully you can join us here as well, streaming on the Stag Sport Network, but also at Rafferty Stadium, because nice little ticket package that's just been announced called the Lax Pass, where fans have an opportunity to get a season ticket but at a discounted price. Just quickly tell us a little bit about that.
Well, I think it's a great opportunity for our fans. We obviously want to try and provide the best, most realistic opportunity for our fans to come to our venue and watch a great event. And so we're so fortunate to have this wonderful asset we call Rafferty Stadium, and so there's no better place around to watch a lacrosse game, particularly on a beautiful spring day. And we just want to try and make it easy and palatable for our fans to come. So our marketing folks have done a great job. We've got a terrific lineup of promotional events associated with each of our home games, and hopefully this pass is a very cost-effective way for lacrosse fans of all ages to come and watch some really high-quality lacrosse at our venue.
Yeah, for sure. And for more information about that Lax Pass, as well as the promotions coming up for the season, just go to fairfieldstags.com and we'll see you there. Quickly, last couple of notes. We talked about the student athlete side of thing in terms of the classroom, but outside of the classroom in the community, Fairfield Stag athletes have had a chance to impact the community, not just here locally, but internationally as well. Sarah Stolman, Seamus O'Brien, and Leanne Anderson had an opportunity over winter break to go down to Ecuador. So tell us a little bit about what they did, and why was that so important for Fairfield to continue their reach out into not only the region but the world?
Sure. No, I would say, generally speaking, our athletes and our coaches do a phenomenal job with community service, and it's one thing, over a couple thousand hours throughout the fall semester alone that they've engaged in, and as part of doing that, really have a really positive, dramatic impact on the lives of young people in particular with the various things they're doing. I actually had a chance to talk to Sarah in particular about her winter trip, and she was gushing about the quality of it and what it meant to her in terms of experience and what she took from it. I think one of the best things about that is to have 3 student athletes engaged in that type of international service activity where you're serving a population of people that really are challenged in terms of their means and what they have access to. So to go there and to have our athletes really dig in and provide a great experience to the degree they can in a short period of time is meaningful to them, but hopefully they bring that back and they impart that to the rest of our student athletes and hopefully instill in them the want to do that. It's obviously part of who we are at Fairfield in terms of our institutional mission, and we take it very seriously athletically to try and do our part with that. So there's that aspect of it in the macro sense, but also I just believe for athletes it's part of their a very significant part of their personal growth. And that's what we want to do and provide them a holistic experience so that they leave here and they understand what it means to give back and to impart those types of things to those who don't necessarily have the opportunities that they have had. It's terrific in and of itself, that trip, but it's part of a bigger picture that I think is really valuable part of what we do athletically and what we do institutionally.
Well, it just continues on what you've been talking about, how Fairfield not only produces good quality on the field, but good quality people as well.
Sure. No question about it. I think it's one of the hallmarks of who we are institutionally, and it's a big part of what appealed to me about coming here.
Absolutely. And to kind of finish out on a little bit of a lighter note, student athletes, they have to blow off some steam every once in a while. So they recently held their annual student athlete talent show, and always some wild skits that the teams perform, a couple of songs and dances in there. But it must have been fun just to watch it.
We had a great time Saturday night, and it was really fun to be a part of it. They had our SAC group, our Student Athlete Advisory Committee, had approached me and asked me to be a judge, and I was honored to be chosen or asked to participate. And so myself and 3 other colleagues, we served as judges, and it was a blast. I was incredibly impressed with their creativity and just the willingness to go out there and kind of have a good time and watch all our teams engage in that. So, and it was a tremendous turnout. Virtually all of our student athletes were there watching, and some other students as well. And so it was just a fun night and a way for them to kind of kick back and kind of dial it down a little bit and have some fun.
My big one for you is, did you go Simon Cowell on them? Did you go hard on a group, or did you kind of keep everything 10s all the way around?
No, I'm a pretty tough grader,
okay,
generally speaking. So, but I thought I was fair, and I probably ended up having, 4 or 5 teams that I had on the upper tier, and but I gave everybody A for effort.
There you go.
And certainly all of them were creative in their own right. So it was a lot of fun to see. Yeah, it was a good time, good to be a part of it.
This brings us to our last platform, something that we're introducing for the first time here on this show. It's Ask Paul, an opportunity for not only our alumni base, but our fans to fire away some questions and hear what you have to say. And for those who want to send their questions, and absolutely, we want to hear what you have to say. So all you have to do is go to fairfieldstags.com/askpaul. So we had a few to go through. We chose 3. So the first question, it's always going to be about Alumni Hall. What's happening with Alumni Hall?
Yeah, sure, and I'm happy to talk about it. So I actually, full disclosure to our audience, I think there were the majority of questions that came through were probably related to basketball, Alumni Hall, getting students back on campus, and everything that goes along with that. So in talking about it, I'll try to kind of encapsulate those questions as best I can. So since the interview process to 4 months later, it is loud and clear to me that is the prevailing sentiment, that there is a need, a want, a very real strategic aspect of having an on-campus arena/convocation center, whatever moniker we want to eventually put on that. I certainly believe in that. It was something that was appealing and attractive to me to engage in that type of activity and that type of project as an oncoming AD, and I've been involved in that type of project elsewhere. Certainly at Stony Brook, we built a brand new arena down there, and so I see the value of it, and So I'm very excited to engage in that. We are engaged in that process, and I do believe, I'll say at the outset, I believe it's a matter of when, not if, that we will see this come to fruition. I'm confident in that. And so we're right now doing a feasibility study to determine all of this project will have to be privately raised dollars. So we're in the process of doing a feasibility study to see what we can raise, and I think it'll be a substantial amount that we will need and that I think we can derive to do that. And at the same time, concurrent with that, we're trying to develop some core program scope and concepts that will be concurrent with that dollar amount to see what is the maximized facility that we can put on campus. So why is that important? Well, some of the reasons are obvious. I think it upgrades us in so many ways. Certainly what I've heard since the day I got here is that we need to get basketball back on campus to try and get more students involved and get more faculty and staff involved and get the town engaged, and I think it's all of the above. At the same time, it will take some time to get that to come to fruition, whether that's, and I don't want to put a finite timeline on it because I can't look through a crystal ball and say that, but I think it's probably fair to say a 3 to 5 year window that we could do that. Hopefully, the patience level is probably waning for a lot of folks, but we want to get it done as quickly and efficiently as possible, but we want to get it right. And I know it's been talked about for a number of years, and there's a certain faction of folks, our passionate fan base being one, that have probably grown tired of hearing about it but not seeing it. So I think we're on the right track. I'm confident that we will get there. We want to build something that people are proud of, and in the meantime, I think we want to work really hard to maximize who we are with what we have. So there's two facets to that. We're in an agreement with Webster Bank Arena, and so we want to continue to try and maximize that atmosphere and get fan base there and do whatever we can. And our marketing team is really working extremely hard and be creative to do everything we can to improve that. It's a multifaceted thought process, strategic view, plan. Trust me, it's on the smack in the middle of my radar screen, and it's something that we're going to continue to work hard to see come to fruition. Because it will be the showpiece. It'll highlight our premier teams, and it's all part of a plan to put Fairfield and upgrade everything we're doing, not only institutionally but athletically. And so it's a big picture deal.
Combining some of the other questions that were sent in, you talked about working with what Fairfield University Athletics has right now. People have been asking, are there any talk of adding sports? Is there any talk of changing conferences currently in the MAC with some sports competing in other conferences? Is anything that on the radar?
There's certainly been discussions about both of those topics. In lieu of, in light of our from a pragmatic standpoint, we have to adhere to certain equity numbers in terms of our proportionality to the student body, and we have an interesting proportionality in terms of our makeup because we are 60%, virtually 60% female, 40% male, and so that is challenging on the athletic side of the house to try and meet that requirement. There's a few different ways you can adhere to the Title IX parameters in terms of the prongs, but proportionality is one of them, and that's one of the ways we try and do it. So there's been that's part of our strategic assessment to see if it is prudent, feasible, necessary for us to add teams, and we're in the process of discussing that preliminarily, and then we'll gradually uptick that conversation. But there's been several sports that have been discussed as possibilities, so that's something that will be ongoing. And then conference alignment and I'm sure that's a topic that's probably been discussed for a few years as well. My feeling on that is that it's my job to always be on the forefront of that potential discussion, that potential movement. And certainly I went through it the last time, this last wave of conference realignment in Division I that really had a trickle-down effect from the Power Fives all the way down to the MACs and the Northeast Conferences and the Patriot Leagues and the A-10s and the CAAs. It impacted all of them. So there's an immediate trickle-down effect. And I was part of it at the Northeast Conference where we lost a couple teams, and interestingly enough, a couple of them, Monmouth and Quinnipiac, came to the MAC. It's my job as the athletics director and as part of our conference to understand those, be forward thinking and understand some of those potential shifts as they occur. How do you best position yourself to be ready for that? Well, you have to maximize who you are, where you are. So we're in the MAC. We are a founding member of the MAC, a long-standing member, and we value the MAC and everything that it's done for us and brought to us. And I think our job right now is to try and be the premier program in the MAC. And that's not just a men's and women's basketball issue. We want to try and be, the premier program competitively, academically, and how people view us in terms of how we do our business. Because when the time comes for potential to be attractive to another conference, is that if that's an opportunity that we want to pursue or comes along. My philosophy, that's how I think we need to approach it. And so there is an aspect of being forward thinking and making sure you're ready to go if that presents itself. But at the same time, we're very committed and loyal members of the MAC, and we need to maximize who we are, where we are.
Well, I appreciate you taking the time to answer a couple of those questions. And again, for those at home who want to send more questions in for our next edition of Ask Paul, you just have to go to fairfieldstags.com/askpaul. So thanks for taking the time.
My pleasure.
Second episode of From the Director's Chair is in the books.
Okay, thanks very much. Appreciate it.